Okay, so these are all the parts. You got your base, which is adjustable angle. You have your guide rod, and you have your holder for your stone. You have the tower, which adjusts your angle. You have your stones, a wrench, different Allen wrenches. These are the parts that hold the knife, and some WD-40, an angle finder, and a marker. All right, so it's easier to pull out some of the parts before you get started. So you'll take out the marker and take out your angle gauge, take out your guide rod and your guide rod holder, which holds your stones and your tower. You're going to assemble the tower, and we're going to take out these pieces here to remove your tower. You remove your base. And the base comes out like that, and one piece. So what we're going to do now is we're going to put the tower, which has a little piece in here which allows you to lock it in place and move it up and down. This has pins and screws on the bottom, so we're going to take both the screws out, and we're going to pin it to the bottom and then screw it in place. And in the kit comes an Allen wrench. So you can take and hold this over upside down like this. Put the pins in. So you got two pins, and the pins are going to go and hold that tight up against the pins. Then hand thread the screws in. Now if it doesn't feel like it's going in, it might be just that it's wobbling around the back. So you just might want to wobble it, and then you can tighten them down. So it's always best to hand thread them at the beginning so that you don't cross thread them. And then give it the final tighten, and the same thing here, the final tighten. So this stuff is anti-skid, so when you put it down, it won't move on you. It'll hold the thing in place. So the different parts are, again, this part goes up and down, and this is your fine adjustment that holds your guide rod in place, and you can move that up and down. So it'll go all the way up through the top. You can make for more higher angles. This part here is, you want to loosen this, and then you have a brake on this side. So undo the brake about one rotation or half a rotation, and this will move up and down. And then you can tighten it in place, and when you're satisfied where you got it, you want to then put the brake on. Okay, so inside the brake area is a small piece of rubber which holds the brake against another piece of aluminum on the inside. So that prevents aluminum against aluminum, which gets scratched up. So this little brake here is kind of sacrificial. After a while, it may eventually get all chewed up. So there's additional brake pads in the kit. I'll show you how to zero angle this. I'm going to grab a piece of paper. Just lay the paper down, loosen your angle, and remove the brake, and rotate this 90 degrees and just lay it onto the paper like that. Now tighten this back up and put your brake on, and now when you rotate this, you'll be exactly at 90 degrees or 0 degrees for your angle, and it won't hit, but you'll be at the correct location for 0 degrees. And we can check 0 degrees by using the angle finder. So you put the angle finder on here, and you'll turn it on. Turn it on, and you'll see it'll read 0 degrees. So that's where the basic part of this starts at 0 degrees. There's a number of different, there's like 2 different styles. Either you got 0 degree angle, or you have another one which is set at about 10 degrees, I think, maybe less. I don't know what exactly they are, but they're angled. So like we could put it at 10, and we'll put the brake on here. And you can see if we slide it a little bit. 9.9, whoop, going the wrong way, sorry. There. Okay, 10.1. So that's your angle is fixed at 10 degrees. That's usually the way they are. They're either at 0, where we were before, or 10 degrees. But what's unique about this one is we can pick any angle we want. So we can release the brake and adjust it to any angle we want to put it at. We're not stuck at 0 or 10. Okay, so now we're going to put the knife holders in place. And you can see there's 2 of them, and they're mirror images of each other. So they have a tightening screw which causes the clamp to tighten down onto your knife. So you can put them in either way. You can put them in facing together, or if you have a larger blade, you can flip them this way and put them in facing out. So we're going to put them in facing together because we're going to do a small knife, so you're going to unscrew these all the way. So we put it inside the slot, and then we put the screw in, and we tighten it down. So once it's tight in place, it doesn't wobble around. So let's do the same thing to the other side. So this thing's all aluminum, so it's going to get scratched up. Don't worry about it not getting scratched up. So we're going to put this side in, and then we'll put this side, screw this part in, and again we'll tighten this side. And it's got a little brass piece on the back just to keep it from chewing up the aluminum, so you don't have aluminum on aluminum. And then what we'll do is we'll kind of move these in closer to the middle, like that. So we'll take a knife and we'll slide the knife in. Now if you have really fat, broad blades, then it may not fit on this like a hunting knife. But from a chef's knife on down to any type of knife like a folding knife, unless it's really thick, then you shouldn't have a problem. So you're going to use next size Allen wrench here in the kit, which is the 1/8 inch, and you're going to tighten this down like that. Now if you have a really nice knife and you don't want to scratch it up, what you can do is take a piece of paper and put that in between the knife like this. Just take a piece of paper, put the piece of paper in between the blade and what you're trying to do, and tighten that up. So if you got a really inexpensive knife, but you don't want it to get damaged, you can tighten that, and do the same thing, tighten them both. So this angle on the blade, you want it to be sort of parallel where you're going to be cutting. You don't want it like that, and you don't want it like that. You want this face to be kind of parallel to your guide. And then you'll tighten that in place. And tighten that one in place, and then it should be pretty tight. So when you rotate the knife, you should be able to kind of move the knife by pulling on it a little bit, and it shouldn't pop out. And that's how you rotate one side, sharpen one side, and then you're going to kind of pull it away and then sharpen the other side. It won't allow you just to flip it. You're going to have to pull, because inside of here are 2 ball bearings, and those ball bearings are what locks you in place. So pull a little bit and it will lock itself back down. Okay, so now we're going to put the guide rod. The guide rod and the guide rod holder fits in here. So what you do is just give this a little shake. It'll allow this to come out. Take it out of the holder, and then you're going to screw this into the holder for the stones, and then tighten the nut Tighten the nut in place with the wrench that's supplied. Give that a tighten. You don't have to go crazy. It should stay pretty tight in the first place. And then you're going to fit this in through the hole up front here into the, it allows us to change our angles. And then you're going to choose one of the stones to use. So you have 6 stones. These are very inexpensive diamond stones, so they will wear out, and you can order different size stones. And the way the stones fit is it has a little guide piece on the angle here, and that fits in this, captured in place in this on the both ends. So we have 2 coarse, 2 medium, and 2 fine. So it goes 80, 240, 400, 800, 1200, and 3000 grits. So these are only, the coarse ones are only used if you have a badly damaged knife and you want to start from scratch. The standard sharpening ones are the 400 and the 800. If it really need the 800 if you're resharpening, and if you want a fine polish, then you use the last 2. So I'm just going to use the 800. And then the way you put it in is you put it in the front, pull back, and just allow this piece to fall into the guided section. That will hold it in place, and then you can put it on your knife. Now, one of the things that's going to happen is if you're using a really high angle, this is going to want to slide off. So you have a little holder to clamp your, that'll go on the end, and just tighten that in place, and now if she starts to slide, it won't fall off. Also, you can use it as a end to say this is the end of my sharpening location, and it will hit in the back instead of falling off your knife. So we'll just put this on here kind of in the middle, and now we'll do our angle on the knife blade. So let's, and if you once you get this off to the side, you can just put this down to the side. You can check your angle. Let's just say we're going to go with 0 degrees. We're going to put our piece of paper on. We're going to loosen this up, and we'll loosen the brake, and we'll rotate the holder out and face it down, and then we'll give it a tighten the angle and tighten the brake. Okay, so I'll take the paper out, and we're at 0 degrees now. That's our 0. Now let's say we want a 20-degree angle on the blade. We'll put the blade onto the knife. We'll turn the angle gauge on and turn it upside down, and it will clamp itself to the holder. And now we're looking for 20 degrees on the holder, an angle of 20 degrees. And we can loosen this nut, and we can drag this up. And 16, 18, and you'll see that as you get close to 20, you might go off or on. Just go ahead and hold that in place, and then you can use the fine adjustment to find the exact 20. So this allows you just to be close. 19.9, very close. Give it a little turn. This thing, the last point tends to kind of jump around. There, 20. So we're at a 20-degree angle right now. So we'll take this back off, and then we can drag this down across the blade. Now we have to move our stop out of the way. We'll move across the blade, and we'll count usually the number of times we do it to just count them up on how we're doing. And you want to keep an even pressure. You don't want to push down hard. And then once you've gone through enough cuts this way, now you can use up motion or down motion. Some people say up is better, and if you go on the internet, you'll see people do different tests and determine whether up or down is. But really what you want to do is create a small burr on the edge of the blade. So once you start to see that burr form, you know you're getting sharp. Then you're going to flip it over. So the same thing you do is you can pull on the knife blade, pull it out, rotate it, and then do the same thing. Then sharpen this side. and then eventually you'll see a burr start to form. You want to take a Kim wipe or something, piece of paper towel. Take a piece of paper towel, and you're just going to want to gently go across and remove any, especially if you're going to go up to a next higher grit, you want to clean the old grit off. So what you don't want to do is push your fingers in and go across like this, because it will slice through the paper towel, then you, very easily. Oh. Okay, so that's basically on how it works, how it sharpens. You just change to a higher grit and you're all set to go. Okay, so we're going to do 20 degrees, but we're going to do it a different way instead of 0. One of the problems with the 0 is that your angle is very steep, so that it's easier to kind of sharpen more on a level. So what we're going to do is we're going to change this angle up. So I'm going to put this back onto here, and we're going to remove the brake, loosen the nut for the angle and take the brake off. And we're going to push this up to, let's say, 14 degrees. Or it doesn't have to be perfect here. And then we're gonna 0. Okay, so now if we put our piece on and we clamp this on with the magnet, we can see we're reading 27 degrees. So we can lower this down until it reads close to 20. Again, you may have to move this back a little bit so it doesn't hit. Close to 20. And then we can move this here to give us a fine adjustment, and we're on 20. Now you can see that we're not sharpening our angle on our blade at the edge of the blade is exactly still 20 degrees, but we're not sharpening at a huge angle. Okay, so on a blade that you do not know what the angle is, you can look it up usually on the internet, it might tell you, but it may be wrong or it may be right. But one way to do a reproducible is to take a marker and just mark the edge of the blade. And then you're going to put your sharpening stone on, and you're going to look and do a little just light cut. And if it's hitting only on the edge of the blade, you may be too high. So then you'll have to do is you'll have to kind of lower it down. The object is to get across the whole cutting edge, not just on the high area on the top, not just on the total edge, but you're sweeping the whole section, and it's removing the color of the marker that you put on. That will give you your new angle, so that to reproduce an angle which you don't know what it is. On these pieces here, these are all high carbon steel. It's drill rod. These two pieces on the guide rod and this part here of the guide rod, you're going to want to lubricant them with some WD-40, keep them from rusting, and allow them to move freely. And they go through bronze fittings, so they should wear in after a while. But it's important to prevent the rust.